Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Welcome. It is Game Over Montreal, and I'm here, Andrew Berkshire, your host, with Maxime Houtte from Hyperdrive Hockey, also on the Game Over Network. And, as much as the Canadiens are not giving us much to talk about this season, we're still excited to chat with you here. We've got lots to cover. I want to dig in with Max on how uninspiring the Canadiens have been this season so far. I think it's all not what we were expecting, and talk about some of the stuff that St. Louis talked about in the past and figure out where we are with some of that stuff. I want to talk about the system itself and who's exactly struggling right now. We'll talk about that in our second system. And then I want to end off a little bit more positive. We'll talk about some players who are actually performing decently right now. I think we'll talk about Brendan Gallagher a little bit, and maybe Alex Newhook for his 2 goals tonight. But before we dig too deep into this and talk about our press conference at the end, where you all can get your say and ask whatever kind of questions that you want, let's shift gears a little bit and shift into hyperdrive with Max. And Max, can you tell everyone what hyperdrive hockey is and what we're looking at for our next episode tomorrow?
Andrew, my man. Well, first of all, hello, everybody. Hope everybody had a better time than the Montreal Canadiens in beautiful Newark, New Jersey tonight. I've heard it's beautiful. I'm just kidding here. Well, Hyperdrive, obviously, is Game Over Network's flagship hockey show. We aim at bringing fun statistics, but mostly a fresh look on Planet Hockey. I insist on Planet Hockey because, of course, there is a big focus on the NHL, especially the way it started. But we aim at talking about everything going on in the world of hockey. You know what? Tomorrow we're definitely going to talk about the PWHL's new jerseys because we love to talk about PWHL. I am a jersey lover myself. I was actually working on a little TikTok for those jerseys, ranking them just before I got on board with you while watching the game. So we're going to talk about that, and we're bringing something new tomorrow. Obviously, we're in young, we're in young business, we're a young media, and we're a very young podcast. We're actually, I guess, celebrating a first anniversary tomorrow. It's our 10th episode. So we're going to switch things up a bit. We're going to try and bring more opinion, bring more takes all around the league starting tomorrow. So hopefully you tune in for that. Obviously, we will talk about all the beautiful Canadian, not the team, Canadian, the teams from the Great White North tomorrow. So we're going to talk about all that. And I'm a bit worried about Connor McDavid coming back so soon. I mean, look, the guy apparently is Wolverine. I mean, I know one day, maybe in 50 years from now, Hugh Jackman will retire from the role after unretiring another couple of times. But I'm a bit worried about him coming back so soon. So we'll talk about this tomorrow.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation there. I feel like the Canadiens have their own couple of players who maybe came back a little bit early. Caden Gooley specifically does not look 100% to me so far since he's come back from injury. And obviously it's necessary, I guess, because who else is going to play those minutes for the Canadiens right now? But it's not great. Players coming back from injury too early is rarely a good idea. I see MFM is saying that they love the Montreal Victoire jerseys. I gotta say, I was a little surprised with having to wait a year for the names and the jerseys. That I thought there was going to be more, but overall,
really,
it's okay. I thought it would be a little bit higher of a standard. It seems very like cut and paste, except for a couple that have too much
that's
stripes.
Interesting. Oh, that's
it's
interesting.
Not bad.
That's interesting because, well, I was underwhelmed by the names. I was whelmed by the logos. I think Victoire and Fleet are amazing. After that, they go from okay to catastrophic. Sorry, Ottawa. Your logo's catastrophic. I'm really sorry, Ottawa.
It's bad.
It's one of the worst logos in sports.
It's terrible.
Really sorry. But I was very overwhelmed with the jerseys today, actually. My first reaction to every single team's having shoulder yokes and details in the numbers, I was like, oh, okay. But you know what? A lot of leagues, even big time leagues, especially in soccer, do have a bit of template stuff. And with it being a young league with Bauer, having its first, well, at least, it's been a while since Bauer's had a big jersey sponsorship deal. I think they did a very good job. Obviously, Bauer designed them all, so there were going to be similarities. I don't mind I think the details and the numbers is freaking cool. That they did it for each team is really cool. I do think Montreal is the one that, and if you're not familiar, it's just la fleur de lis, man. And it's not just about the name of the team, it's about the identity of the province. So that's
Yep.
amazing. But other than that, it's just if you remember last year when they unveiled the jerseys without names and all, we were already underwhelmed by the fact there weren't any names. But I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, no disrespect to whoever were the jersey manufacturer, but my beer league jersey right here, I could show it to you. It was a better quality jersey, like the
Yeah.
quality of the jersey in itself. I was like, come on, you have Marie-Philippe Poulain, goated, showcasing a jersey that looked like I could rip it easily with my. I mean, come on, man. So at least like the quality of the jerseys, man. I haven't hold it yet, obviously, but I don't know if you saw the pictures up close, the details in the logos. There is nothing to envy there of to the Nikes, the Adidas, any big brands in the world. So shout out to that. And I think the Victoire jersey is one of the
It's
good
nice.
jerseys in hockey, man. Especially the off-white one. And full disclaimer, I think off-white is a horrible trend. Like the Montreal Canadiens, we're here to talk Montreal Canadiens. The freaking Montreal Canadiens, the oldest team in hockey, celebrated 100 years in 2009 without a single trace of freaking off-white. You don't need off-white to go vintage, people. Like it's okay. We wash jerseys now. It's cool. So I'm not big on that trend. But with that being said, even with the off-white, I'm like, oh damn, that's the off-white jersey is freaking cool, man.
If you use it properly, that like off-white or cream color can work really well. But there was that stretch
Yeah.
of time in the NHL where like every retro jersey had the
Oh
off-white, like
man.
the Senators jersey. Remember when they just put the 0 back on there from like
Yeah.
back in the day? And all I could think whenever I saw that jersey is like number of cups.
Ouch. It's funny because I think it's one of the best jerseys they've had. Like, I understand why the O wasn't cool, but if you had just put not the actual logo of the Sens, like they did a modern version of it when they brought those horrible Reebok jerseys. One of the good things that came out of it was the modern sideways version of it. If you had just put this, it would have been amazing. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyways, not a big fan of the off-white trend. And it's all the Minnesota Wild's fault. They're the one who started it when they brought that red jersey in, like, I don't know, '03, I want to say.
They are. They are. Although I will give the Minnesota Wild credit that their reverse retro jersey, the first run of reverse retros, perfect. Perfect. Bring back the
yeah.
North Stars colors. That's what they got to
Yeah.
do. But I guess we
Yeah.
should probably talk a little bit about this game. I'm seeing some talk in the comments here. Mark dropped in and says the Devils are a top team full of stars. That was a pretty good effort from the Canadiens. High danger chances were 9-9. And I think that's fair. I like the
I'm pretty
Canadiens.
optimistic.
I think the Canadiens, like the last half of the game, were better. But that first period, especially, like we talked about it off the top, uninspired is the name of the game for me in this particular season, what I'm seeing. And it's the pace. It's the pace and the effort. I know that the Devils are a good team. I know that they're a fast team, but there's just no excuse for how often the Canadiens were beat to pucks in every single zone.
Yeah.
That's an effort thing. That's a communication thing. And it seems like whether it's effort, whether it's mental engagement in the play, or just straight up communication with teammates, nothing's firing right now. They are not connected. We've talked, like Martin St. Louis talks about that word all the time, being connected. They're not connected. It seems like nobody knows where the puck is going to go, who it's going to go to. There are set plays that the Canadiens run. One that they like to do is when they win the puck in their own zone in the corner, they try to go up the half wall and then hook it back towards the middle to a forward coming back down the wall to try to reverse the play and get it going up the other side. And there were like 3 or 4 times tonight in the first period where they just missed the pass into the middle and threw it straight into the slot. And it's like, when you do that against a team like the Devils, you're just beating yourself. And it's that lack of focus that is so alarming to me with this team. And it got better as the game went on. Like, sure, give them credit. But I don't think the Devils were fully on it tonight either. I think they took their foot off the gas pedal pretty much every moment that they weren't in threat. You know, like as soon
Every
as it
time
was
they had a 2-goal lead, actually.
exactly, yeah. As soon as it was down to one, it was like, oh, okay, it's all back in our court now. The Devils
Yeah.
are in control. So
Yeah. Well,
nice effort, but was it?
yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because I kind of agree with that here. I don't know about you, but every single time the Habs came back within one, except the first time when they did 2-1. After that, every time I was like, yeah, they're not coming back in this. I'm sorry. Like, it's like a bad plot twist that you saw coming miles away, like 30 minutes in advance. And you're like, I don't feel bright. It was just a dumb plot twist. That was it for the Habs tonight. Because I personally, and I'm curious about you, but like every time they came back within one, I was like, nah, I know it's not going to happen. It won't. I'm sorry. It won't.
Yeah, there's not a lot of belief right now, and frankly, why would there be? They haven't given us something to believe in so far this season. Like it's just not great. And one of the things that I'm thinking of over and over as I watch this team right now is this is a team that for the last 2 years we knew was bad. There have been stretches of time that have been extremely frustrating to watch, but there's always been a through line of the players that you want to be improving are improving.
Yeah.
And those players are getting the job done within the confines of their roles. And last year it was the top line, right? That top line
Yeah.
cooked for 50, 60 games to end the year.
And they weren't boring. They've never
No.
really been boring on any stretch under St. Louis. And right now, I'm sorry. I'm
They
bored.
are. They are
I'm
very boring.
freaking bored, man.
They're very
Like,
boring.
when was the last good game? Win or lose? Good game. Like a
Yeah.
good game of hockey.
This
'Cause
almost
even
got to it for a stretch.
I don't know.
Almost.
Because like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm too severe. Maybe I'm already too severe. We have reason to be severe, though. But, you know, it's funny because I was watching the game and I came upon your post, I guess we got to call it now, your tweet. I guess it was a bit of a pure hazard because I'm barely on the platform anymore. I'm just there to post my content and then I'm out. So
Yeah.
I actually don't even know why I was on it. But I saw your tweet about the team being uninspired. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. I was actually looking for the word. I was looking and I was like, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know what it is because I don't think it's a lack of effort. I don't
No.
think it's a lack of, I definitely don't think it's a lack of talent. You have some players, and we're going to talk about Gallagher. We're going to talk about other guys later on. But when you look at it, one of the key to me to success for the Habs this year was Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher, not coming back to who they were in their 20s, but is Josh Anderson 30 now? He was drafted in 2012, so I
I
guess
think he's like just 30.
yeah, he's 29 or 30. So yeah, he would be 30 depending on where his when his birthday is. So they will never be back in their early to mid 20s form. But if you could have them at least back to a decent level of play, if Mike Madison can somehow sustain the production while, Lane Hutson coming in and being every bit as good as advertised, and everything I just mentioned, I feel like is clicking. Then why is this team not good? Uninspired. It is one of there. It's as if, you know what? There, there was a brick that fell on their head the second Patrick Laine got hit in freaking preseason,
Yeah.
and they never got back from it. This is something that I find really, really hard to understand because you have freaking Martin St. Louis as head coach, the guy who is still out there, sometimes looking journalist with fire in his eyes, saying like, "People who doubt me end up regretting it." And you're like, how has this guy not found a way to tell the guys in the room, hey, okay, the guy we got to help us is down. We don't give a damn. I don't understand this, man. I don't understand how quickly the mood went from high to a depressive state.
Yeah.
Because that's how it feels right now.
I think this is kind of the reality of rebuilds, right? Is to be able to sustain that feeling that the Canadians have had for the last couple of years where like things are terrible, but we're really positive about it because the plan looks good and like the right players are progressing the right way and like things are going to be slow, but you're excited about it. And now like it's tough to play armchair psychologist, especially from a team perspective where you're dealing with 20 plus 25 players who've hit the ice for the Canadiens so far this year and coaches and trainers, all this stuff. But from where I'm sitting, I think that the Laine and Reinbacher game took a huge hit on them, like mentally for sure. But then they started the season decently. They got that win in Toronto, and there was this hype of like, oh, you know what? We're going to get through it. And this is the year where we take a step. And then all of a sudden it was like smack, smack, smack. You're clearly not ready. And it just seems like everyone kind of stopped for a second. And it's like the guys like Gallagher, Evans, Anderson are trying to rally the troops and get things going in the right direction, but they're no longer the impact players capable of pulling the whole team. And as much as there are systemic things that I think are very worrying, the actual results right now, like short term, don't really change my opinion on the club overall. Because I think you can look at this objectively and look at how players are playing on the ice and compare it to the last couple of years, even 1 year, and you can say this is not who they are. And I think it's very easy to say that from an outside perspective. I'm sure Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton are a little bit more nervous right now, but Ivan Demidov's not here. They're going to get another good player in this draft. We know that Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Uri Slafkovsky, Kirby Dach are better than what we're seeing right now. And I think you could say the same for Mike Matheson. I mean, you could say the same for Lane Hutson, even though I think his stats don't represent him at all this year. I think that he's been phenomenal pretty much every single game.
I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
There's not a game that what's funny? Lane Hutson's a late second round pick, right? So he could have landed on literally any of the 32 teams. I think Lane Hutson right now in the second round was drafted by, trying to think of a team who doesn't have like a surefire offensive superstar on the blue line. If Lane Hutson had landed on the LA Kings, he would be firing on all cylinders in statistic right now. If Lane Hutson had landed on a middle of the pack team with prime offensive talent, or even a top, you know what? The Boston Bruins. I am a big Charlie McAvoy guy. I think he's even underrated because he doesn't have the stats of Makar, Fox, and Quinn Hughes, but I think all around might be third best defenseman in the league, in my opinion. So even he just lands on the Bruins. Anyways, you understand what I mean? He lands on a team that has players that completes the play right now. I'm not going to say he has double the stats, but we're talking rookie of the year caliber player.
Oh, 100%. I mean, nightmare scenario for the Canadiens specifically. That year, 31st overall, Tampa Bay could have taken Lane Hutson.
Oh my freaking God. Can you imagine? How did I not even think about Tampa? I guess because of Edman, I did not think of Tampa. But, and you know what? What actually impresses me, what actually impresses me about the Hutson is not even the offense. Like tonight, that play he did, which actually ended up 20 seconds later in the goal, but the comeback on the one on three. Was it last game? It was last game. The comeback. Tonight. Yeah, no. Tonight was the 1-on-3, but the last game there was also a comeback where I don't remember who almost climbed on him. Yeah, the back check was all. He plays hard. He plays well. He plays smart. He's even better than I thought he would be. I was he's not sure to make the team like last summer because I thought he was going to make it, but I thought assuming right out of the gate, he has a spot, was a bit over the top. And I went to one rookie camp practice and I was like, that guy makes the team. I mean, come on. You don't even have to know hockey to understand what's going on here. You just see whenever he touches the puck, it's crazy. The thing he does on the blue line, the thing he does in possession of the puck, it's beautiful. It's amazing. Montreal Canadiens fans around my age have had two players who could make them jump off their seat for no reason. It's Kovalev and it's Subban. Yep. And now it's him. I'm sorry I love Suzuki. I love Caulfield, but not in the way this guy does it. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, there's something different. I think Suzuki can do a lot of, he can make a lot of the same impact that Hutson can in terms of getting the puck to the right spaces. But Hutson does it so quickly and so dynamically that it just changes the energy of the building itself. And it's kind of that same thing that PK had where you could, when he dropped that shoulder and started skating up the ice, okay, the puck's going into a dangerous area. He's going to find a way.
You just get it.
Yeah, it's a different thing, and Suzuki, I think also he plays such a cerebral game. It's not a speed game.
Exactly.
It doesn't really get the energy as much, but He's a great player when he's playing great.
Caulfield, it's within, it's always because he's a sniper.
Yeah.
So it's within Caulfield. You know what? I'm a bit severe. Caulfield has it a bit. He has it a bit. He has
He has
of
it
that
in
stuff.
like he sneaks through and you don't even know that he's there almost, and then he
Yeah.
got like 3 goals out of nowhere. He has that ability, but it's not the holding the puck and drawing all of our attentions, right? Like Caulfield
Exactly.
doesn't make you, when you're at the Bell Center, lean forward, because by the time he has the puck, it's already in the net.
Exactly.
You got no time to
Exactly.
react. Yeah,
You know
Rick
what? That's
Springhetti in the
actually
chat.
interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's interesting because I guess that would be, do you remember young Ovi? Because
Yes.
if you're, I don't know, let's say under 23, like you don't remember that Ovi wasn't always just this guy who's parked in a spot and somehow ends up with 1,000 goals. He was the most electrifying player in the league for 4 years. He's not that guy anymore. He still produces, not in the same way. Well, actually, so far this year he does. He's on pace for 100 goal and for 100 points and 50 goals. So but young OV versus old OV would be like the debate. Like the point I'm trying to make. He still produces. Like, they're both different players. Like Ovi went from the best power forward and sniper in the league to just the best sniper in a way. So old Ovi keeps you on the edge of your seat. He still scores his goal, but you're not like, oh, you're just like, oh yeah, he's parked there. He might score, like, So that's the little nuance I'm trying to bring here.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you also. And like young Ovi, I don't think people today who were like growing up with old Ovi would understand that he wasn't just the goal scoring threat. Like his defensive numbers were incredible too, because when he was on the ice, you were either terrified because he had the puck or terrified because you had it and he was coming at you and he was going to check you through the damn boards. Like young Ovi was a wrecking ball. I'm surprised he didn't miss games. Like he was so healthy too for most of his career.
You're going to have to study the man when he dies. I hope he gives his body to science because he's dreaming them soft drinks on the bench. It's just Russian machine never breaks, man. I don't know.
It's true. They chose that name so well. The people who built Russian Machine Never Breaks. That was
what? I actually for a while didn't even know it was a blog because one of my best friends from high school that I've been friend with for like 20 years almost now. He's the biggest Ovi fan I know, and he was the one who kept saying that, and I was just like, that's hilarious. And then I found out it was a blog. I was like, oh, you didn't come up with it? Oh, okay, it's okay. But yeah, I agree. It's so fitting.
Yeah, it is. I know Rick Springhetti said that he didn't see uninspired himself. I see a team that's anxious with the puck. They almost seem to think they can't make more than one good pass and kill their own plays. I agree. I don't think the team itself is uninspired. I don't think that's the issue. I think they're uninspiring
in the play.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not. Yeah. It's not fun. I'm not having fun.
It's funny because I agree with him, but I don't put in a position uninspired play and the anxiousness he's talking about. I think the anxiousness and all of that leads to uninspired play.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's shift gears into our next segment here. But before we do, make sure you like and subscribe because it really helps us out. And if you really want to help us out, please share the stream. On your favorite social media of choice. Tell your friends that we're back up here and we're trying to build something really cool. Obviously it's a tough time in the world right now. Economically, we watched what just happened in the States. I think a lot of folks are rightly terrified. But one of the things that we can do to make things better is dig in on what we actually like and try to build things that make people's lives better around us. And that's what we're trying to do with Game Over here. We're trying to build something that's community-based, that works with our small business communities in each market, that actually pays young journalists to break in and find their voice and learn new skills and employs people who represent us more accurately than necessarily the mainstream media, which is a lot of people who look like myself. Maybe a little bit more gray. Not to say that I'm not going gray, but I'm balder faster than most of them, so I've got that going for me, which is nice. But we're trying to do something good here, and I hope that people are willing to stand with us here and build something truly positive in the hockey space. Because frankly, I'll tell everyone, for me, I'm tired of the the attitude of gatekeeping and keeping people out and protectionism and watching this industry slowly get pilfered as people get laid off over and over and over again, and just seeing so many talented people broken by it. So we're going to have a crowdfunding campaign. We're looking to help build up our hyperdrive hockey situation there. With it, we're looking for $15,000 in our crowdfunding campaign through LaRouche. It will be posted shortly. The website where you can sign up. We'll have lots of goodies for those who donate to get something back out of it outside of, helping us build something cool for you. But in the meantime, you can also check out our Patreon, which if you go into the description of this video or podcast, if you're listening not live, but later, and you can find the Patreon there to help support us in the meantime, or check out our amazing merch, which we'll talk about in a second as well. But let's talk, Max, about what actually is going on and why the Canadiens are struggling short term, at least this season. We talked about like the psychology of it and it being uninspired, but I've noticed that, we talk about Josh Anderson, Brendan Gallagher, as much as he's been a focal point of frustration, Christian Dvorak, the players who are kind of having like relative success right now, as much as I love seeing it for Brendan Gallagher and especially for Josh Anderson, who's had a tough couple of years here, these are the wrong guys that you want to be seeing succeed right now.
Yeah.
I wonder, I watched them play tonight against the Devils pretty closely, and I understand the Devils are a fast team and a very skilled team, but the frequency with which they're dumping the puck in and keeping the puck along the walls, I'm not seeing the team that looks for the best play, the patient team with the puck, even though they were bad under Martin St. Louis, that I'm used to seeing, especially from the skill players. I'm seeing a lot of reaching instead of being in a position because you're skating to the right spot. And I'm seeing a lot of panic with the puck where they don't have confidence in the decisions that they're making. I'm wondering if we're at the same point with St. Louis right now where we were with Ducharme, where there's too many inputs going on, too many things being asked of players. We heard St. Louis talk for years about concepts over system, right? And how he wanted to slowly layer concepts in and let players adjust and then move forward and build on it. And I love that idea. It sounds amazing for building long term. But I wonder if they added too much this season. And it's just, for the skill players, too confusing. And for the non-skill players, because they're not asked to do as much, and not non-skill, but like the more north-south players that grind it out, the forechecky kind of guys, those guys their jobs are relatively simple. They know what they're supposed to do. They're having success, but the other guys aren't. Like outside of Lane Hutson, I don't think a single skill player is having an all-around good season. I know Caulfield's scoring, but the underlying numbers are not kind either.
There's a lot to unpack here. So let's since we're talking about Saint Louis, let's stay on this for a second. You talked about if he added too much this season. Let me ask you a question. Is Martin Saint Louis as good a teacher as he is a communicator with the media? And here's why I'm asking this. The famous defensive system, zone coverage to hybrid to I don't even know anymore, which he said recently with a bit of impatience, it's not complicated. Here's the thing. He's a freaking historically high IQ hockey player, a great hockey mind. He is a smart man. To him, it's not complicated. Might be more complicated to that third pair defenseman, to that even second pair defenseman whose biggest skill is not hockey IQ. And it's something that I remember. I knew a guy who played college football here in Canada, and his OC, offensive coordinator, was a former great Canadian quarterback in CIS. It was a problem that he had with his young QB. He was coaching at some point, like it was his first coaching job, and in the practice, he was mad at the QB not making the right read, and he was like, "The heck, you don't understand? It's easy." Yeah, to you, it's not. It's not complicated. You're an amazing. You're not an above average football mind. You're a high IQ football mind. It is possible to teach that, but you need to have the teaching tools.
Yeah.
I was not the one who was the most critical of the hire of Saint Louis, under the idea that, hey, you know what? It's a young team that is going to have to learn. Why not try and have a coach that also is trying to learn? After that, we can get into the fact that so many coaches are eating cold chicken in the buses and do not have that opportunity. Yeah, I think it's another debate. But right now, I do question if he has the tools and if he is getting them. Because recently, Pierre Lebrun said that around the league in offices, it was one of the questions people have about the Habs is, do they actually have enough experience behind the bench? So that is my question that I'm asking right now. I am not to the point, like some people, of putting his job in jeopardy, questioning if he's still the man who can be there at least for this year, maybe next year. But I am questioning, is he improving as a coach? Because it is one thing that I've been wanting to see. And
That
it's much tougher to see if he actually is. I'm not there in the locker rooms and listening to the video session and all that.
Yeah, it's so tough because we're not, right? And media will never get access to that. We will never get to see the actual day-to-day grind and what is being communicated effectively, right? And it's a great question. I saw somebody, I think it was on Blue Sky tonight, which, by the way, for those wondering, I'm kind of transitioning away from Twitter. Like Max said, I'll post stuff there content-wise, but in terms of like my main stop for sharing my thoughts, I'm switching over to Blue Sky. I think it's just not a good space anymore. And frankly, the reach is not there anymore either. I'm getting like a third of what I used to get for reach. So screw Elon and Twitter. So check out Blue Sky and follow there. But they were saying, is Marty more of a Rod Brindamore or a Wayne Gretzky, right? We're like Wayne Gretzky, all the talent in the world, but can somebody who has all that natural ability and hockey sense teach when to them they just get it?
Yeah.
It's
But that's interesting.
Question.
That's very interesting because when he first came in, my prediction on that was he was not going to be Wayne Gretzky because Martin St. Louis, despite becoming a Hall of Famer, needed to grind.
Yes.
He needed to grind. He was undrafted. He was an AHLer. He was a fourth liner. He was a third liner. Here's the thing, though. He was never all of those things because of a lack of talent. He was all of those things because back in the early 2000s and the late 90s, they would just not give a chance to a guy this small. So he basically had to punch him in the face or whatever to get it. So my premise that he was at some point a grinder might have been wrong a bit. So maybe he's so far a bit of both, but he can improve and become Ron Brind'Amour. But then you get into the debate of, but Brind'Amour learned as an assistant coach for many years on the Hurricane bench before they said, you're ready, buddy. Go in. You're the coach now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
we didn't do.
It's a different situation because the Hurricanes were already kind of trying to be good, right?
Yeah.
When they had Bill Peters was there, the disgraced coach who's been caught hitting players and saying racist things. Yeah. But so I guess like for the rebuild, I'm kind of where you were when you mentioned earlier. I like the idea of the coach developing alongside the team, but that requires Marty also having mentors, right? And I just saw MFM in the chat says that we talked about it previously, but having an experienced assistant coach with Marty would make a difference. And I totally agree. I think it is a problem for the Canadiens that their coaching staff in general lacks experience.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with Martin St. Louis as a head coach. And I'm with you. I'm also not even close to putting him on the hot seat. I think he has a very long leash, a lot of leeway.
Well, he's signing a contract this summer, so
exactly. And I don't think the Canadiens are a panicking team. Ken Hughes just doesn't seem like the type to panic, and I think Jeff Gorton has been around this league long enough in this kind of role that he's also not going to panic. But Martin St. Louis does have to show some improvement somewhere. I think the defensive system has to change dramatically. There's got to be an end point for this experiment. because you're going to kill Sam Montembeault for starters. And the defenseman, too, the young defense needs to be insulated a little bit. And the veterans that they have can't do it. I like David Savard. I like Mike Matheson, but they're not capable of playing the roles that they're being asked to play. And there's just too many things going wrong. But I do think with St. Louis, in terms of teaching, what gives me hope is a lot of the things that I've learned about education and like working with, for lack of a better term, kids, like just becoming a parent and being invested in trying to be a good parent. You learn about psychology of teaching and like how to work with different people, right? And also working with a coach on like my personal training, realizing that you mentioned, this is jumping all around, but it's kind of all related. The Brad Marchand thing a couple weeks ago, right? You mentioned on Hyperdrive Hockey and like there's no accountability now, and some people need to get yelled at.
Yeah,
some people do, right?
Exactly.
But not everybody is the same. Some people, if you get in their face and tell them like they're playing terrible or whatever, they will melt and they'll fall apart. That's not what they need. Yes. Brad Marchand, you know, he's what, 36 now or 35? He's stable as a player. He's going to be likely a Hockey Hall of Famer. You can yell at Brad Marchand all day. He's not going to fall apart. With young kids, you have to maybe treat it a little bit differently. Some still need that, right? Some athletes need to be pushed in that way to get to the next level. But I do think that Martin St. Louis is pretty good at finding out what kind of situation a player needs to get there. And I do love that chip on his shoulder. And, you know, you mentioned the small thing. Like, let's be real. Being small and Quebecois in the 90s, like, he was dealt a terrible hand to try to make the league. And he ended up a Hall of Famer. Like, there's bias. We all know it. Like, we can see it.
I'm sorry, but I got to come back on this. Is Brad Marchand a Hall of Famer?
I think he will be.
Is it the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Very Good?
I think he will be. Just, I mean, part of it's because he's hitched his career to Bergeron, right? But
yeah, no, it has become the Hall of Very Good, though.
It's true. Here. No offense to Guy Carbonneau, who great defensive player, but Hall of Fame is.
You know what? It's not even Guy Carbonneau for me. It was both together, Tom Barrasso and Mike Vernon, especially
Tom Barrasso. Yeah, Mike Vernon's a tough one too. I mean, even Red Wings fan, like you trade the guy and you win the cup the next year too.
Like seriously, like. Anyways, Max Tixador in the chat has, you know, he says, I think his coaching doesn't work, but also I don't think he can do much with those players.
Yeah.
It's something that, you know, but here's the thing that I find interesting. So as you know, I do YouTube videos and I'm really engaged in the comments and all that and discussing with people. And obviously I did, how do you, hotline? Is this how you call it in English?
Sure. Yeah, or like call in.
So yeah, call in radio, sports radio for many years. And here's the thing right now, I feel like a lot of people are kind of cut a bit on the fence here. It's like this with Saint Louis. It's like this with Montembeault. It's kind of in this place where, so for me, you know, I'm a big goalie guy. I love analyzing goalies and I have a big spreadsheet with both Primo and Montembeault stats so far this season and all that thing. And so here's the thing. To me, who is if you don't know me, I'm a big Monty believer. Obviously, I don't think he's a top 5 goalie. Obviously, I don't think he's a top 10 goalie. I think he can be a number 1 goalie. When you consider that there are 32 teams in the NHL, number 1 goalie doesn't mean Carey Price every single time. It can mean Carey Price. It can also be Aiden Hill. It can also be Jordan Binnington. It can also be Darcy Kemper. It can be many things. He can be a decent number 1. With that being said, so far this year, to me, it hasn't been hit for Monty. Not all of it is on him, but in himself, he hasn't been it. But when I say that, so many people instinctively go, you can't say anything about his play with that D. Well, you're not completely wrong. You're not right either. I'm sorry. Like you can still try. Well, at least that's what I love to do. You can still, you know, try and analyze the thing. And I feel like for both the goalies and Martin St. Louis this year, they're kind of a bit in the same situation where for a lot of people, they're kind of not sure how to analyze, criticize, how to see it, because they're like, I can't make a full opinion yet until I have seen Monty or Martin St. Louis with, you were talking about a decent hand for St. Louis as a player. Well, with a good hand in their hands. Like, if you put Monty, let's say, on Team Canada in the Four Nations face-off, is he good enough to carry, to not be the Achilles of that team? I do not know. I honestly do not know. If you give Martin St. Louis right now the Carolina Hurricanes, are the Carolina Hurricanes a worse team? I do not know. It's true. I don't know. But from what I'm analyzing right now, they're both a bit underwhelming to me so far this year. Oh, Andrew, I think you muted yourself there. Or is it?
How did I do that?
Oh.
I think you're completely right, and I think it's fair. I think also watching Montembeault the last 2 seasons, like, we know that he can play better than, every goal that went in tonight against the Devils, I don't know if you can necessarily blame him for them, but not all of them can go in at the same time. If you know what I mean. Like, it seemed like all of them were momentum killer plays.
Yeah.
And usually,
you know what's a good example
of
this? The Kraken game was a good example.
Yes.
Because he obviously wasn't to blame. Because, like, that first period, like, every freaking shot was a If you don't watch that game and you just go, oh boy, the guy just gave, what was it, 5 goal and 10 shots, if I remember correctly?
Yeah,
like,
bad.
oh boy, he gave in that. Yeah, but, like, those were quality shots. At the same time, it is his job in that situation to he gives it 2 saves out of those. Just 2 saves. And maybe you have a game here. Maybe.
Yep. Matthias in the comments says, or in the chat, sorry, says, not bad goals, but you want your goalie to make some saves that they shouldn't. And that is exactly it. And I feel like Montembeault
tonight,
did that.
I think, is the third one for me. The one from the corner, the one we said about Lane Hutson making the play, that was the third. To me tonight, that's the third. Like, it's not a bad goal.
Yeah, even the fourth one, like, did he really have a chance? No. But the way that it went in, how deep he was in his net, and, like, just the body language after, I was like, oh, come on. Like, you get all these chances, and the first counterattack, and that's also a thing that you can't really blame on the goalies, but the amount of counterattack chances that the Canadiens give up that look completely undangerous, and then somebody makes a boneheaded play, and it's a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1, you're like, how do you do this so often? It doesn't make any sense. So it's tough on the goalies, but yeah, you need something spectacular once in a while if you're going to be as bad as the Canadiens are. And we haven't seen much of the spectacular version of Montembeault so far this season.
Yeah. You know what? Remeli has a point I love. He says, I like Monty, but he's been off lately. He played wellish tonight, but his technique was wrong a lot too. Yeah. And my name is Max Van Houtte, and how do you say this? I approve this message.
I approve this message, yeah. I feel like Monty's got a little bit of, like, young Marc-Andre Fleury in him. That, like, the skill level and physicality and athleticism is incredible. But the technique and positioning is not so great. So that because they're relying so much on athleticism, when the technique falls apart just a little bit, it looks really rough. And I think that's why we see with Monty, we see absolutely incredible games where he's tracking the puck well and nothing seems to get by. And then you have games where it's like everything seems like he's out of position going in. And I'm sure as a Marc-Andre Fleury fan, you remember there was that stretch of time, like early in his career, and then around the time when they started to shift away from Fleury, where, like, the playoffs were a mess, or, like, he would have stretches in the regular season where everything was going in. He'd, like, have his back turned to the play, and he figured it out. And I feel like Montembeault will too. He's not at the same level as Fleury, but it's Fleury's those kinds of goalies.
Yeah, Fleury's an instinct goalie.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I'm going to try and see this because I had never really seen Monty that way. Maybe because they're just so unsimilar in size.
Yes.
But it is a very interesting point. A very interesting point. What I loved about Monty last year is he seemed to have a short memory, which is the best quality of a goalie, of course.
This is very, very true.
Right now, you see that's the thing. Caden Primo, to me, his biggest hurdle in his progress has always been his mental game.
Yep.
he seems like he beats himself up, and not in a good way. Because I mean, Carey Price beated himself up,
Yeah.
and for having been in the locker room, I can tell you, if anybody believes Carey Price didn't give a damn because of his personality, it was a thing. A lot of people were like, that guy doesn't give a damn. Like, at some point, the Habs should just have released behind the scenes clip of Carey Price, because the man cared and beat
Yes.
himself up over stuff that he did not show. And that was one of his greatest ability. He didn't show it. He never showed it. Not once. And he had a short memory. And Primo, it's the total. You can see it from afar. Like how many times have I wanted to give him a hug?
Yeah.
And it's cute, but it's not a good thing. You don't want to give your goalie a hug. You want to turn around and go like, all right, he's still in it. Like, he still got it. I don't care. And I feel like Monty last year had that. Like, he never stole games, or rarely did, but he also never lost them. So last year. Which so far this year, I mean, it's a bit unfair to say he has lost games, because as we've said, there are so many quality chances around him and all that. But he has not been as much on the money as consistently as last year.
Agreed. Rick Springhetti asks if we're going to talk positives. Yeah, let's do that. We'll shift into the third period here. And
Come on, 5 losses in a row.
yeah, I know we gotta do something to have some kind of catharsis. I was talking with
All right.
with Kay during the game about, like, how it feels to watch the Canadiens right now and like why the vibes suck so much. And I think it's just that the general depressive quality of like worldwide news. And then you go to the fun thing. You're like, this sucks too. Why why is this suck too? And I think that's how a lot of people are feeling watching the Habs right now, and why a lot of people are kind of tuning out. But let's talk positives, because I've got a positive. Brendan Gallagher.
I'm so happy.
He deserves it.
Happy for the man. You know why I'm so happy? Because I feel like the reason people have turned on Brendan Gallagher is not Brendan Gallagher's fault.
Yes.
I mean, from a technical standpoint, I guess you could say, well, he's the one who signed the contract. Yeah, sure, he was offered a contract. What was he going to do? Oh, I'm sorry, this is worth way much than him. No, Mark, please offer me $2 million less. No, he wasn't going to do that. And I honestly, I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong. I think it's literally the only reason people have turned on him. If Brendan Gallagher is still on a decent contract, nobody ever gives a damn about Brendan Gallagher as a single bad thing to say about him, because yes, the productivity has gone down, but the effort, the wireness, the grind, it's never gone down. And so I'm just so happy for the guy. Okay, yeah, me too. I think he's overpaid. Of course, I'm not dumb. The second he was given the contract, I was like, oh my God, this is going to grow old so bad and so fast. But he still comes at the arena. He still puts on the boots. He's still out there getting hit in the face. And so far this year, he's the second best goal scorer on the team. And with a 30-goal pace after, 12, 13 games? I'm just so happy for the guy, man.
Yeah, he's put in the work, and he had that the one season coming off of the Stanley Cup final run where there were stretches of that year where I was like, I don't know if he's gonna play out the next couple of years. Like the injuries were so layered, like the groin injuries. Like it seems like everything he did, he was getting hurt. He looked angry on the ice every game. Like nothing seemed within his control. It wasn't like Brendan Gallagher being a shit disturber. It was Brendan Gallagher out of control. And
yeah, I get what you mean.
You saw that a lot. And then last year he started to get a little bit healthier. The play started to come back. But then I think it was last year where he could not draw a call. And it seemed like nothing was breaking well for Gallagher. And now the play is where we expect it to be from in a proper role. He's not being asked to be on the top line anymore. And there are some comments asking if it's time to promote Gallagher. I think, Kay responded in the chat, says, I think his body won't hold up second line minutes. I'm less concerned about the body itself and him getting hurt. I'm more concerned about within his specific role, he's playing extremely well. And when you ask him more against tougher competition with more skilled players, that's more difficult.
But let me ask you this. Could he bring a bigger sense of energy or a bigger sense of emergency Because I feel this is what is lacking right now on those two lines.
Yeah.
Like, I can be totally wrong on this, but nobody is gonna take away Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, and even Dak, almost Newhook, but I'm not gonna include Newhook in there. I'm just gonna take those four guys. Everybody knows nobody's gonna take their minutes. It's up to them to figure it out. And I think that maybe unconsciously it brings a lack of emergency. And can Galley bring that?
Yeah. I mean, especially if they were to go into it and say, like, you're still going to play the same amount of ice time, but that ice time is going to be on one of the top two lines, it probably works out. I just don't want them to run Gallagher out there for 18 minutes and have to watch him after 30-second shifts just, like, struggling to get back to the bench, because I get it, man. You're getting a little old. The skating's not where it used to be. The injuries have piled up. But after that, like 30, 35 seconds for Gallagher, like the ends of the shifts are a little bit tough. But he gives you great 35 seconds. You know, it's just the rest of it. But hey, Alex Newhook, let's talk about specifically that second goal tonight. Because if there was a player who needed a break, it was Alex Newhook. And the Devils gave that to him. When you watch that second goal, that is one of the worst line changes I've ever seen, Max.
I'm so sorry. Are you a Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan?
Yes.
Because when you say he gives you a good 35 seconds, I just couldn't stop hearing Jake
Title of your
Peralta
sex
going,
tape.
title of your sex tape.
Yeah. Brendan Gallagher. He gives you a good 35 seconds.
Or Michael Scott going in. That's what she said. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Alex, you know what's hilarious? Is that, wait, I have it here. I want to read it perfectly. I want to quote. So I have a group chat, obviously, like most of us. Here it is. Here's my friend tonight. Obviously, it's in French, so I'm translating it for you guys. But he says he's a notable Christian Dvorak, let's say, non-lover. And he goes, I think I like Newhook even less than Devo. And like literally 5 minutes later, he scores the first goal. So I go like, can you also say that about Dak, just in case like it gets him worked up too? And yeah, I just thought that was hilarious because yeah, me too. I was looking at if Alex Newhook could just, because when he is on his game, his speed can disrupt a defense. I feel like that's what happened tonight. That second goal he scored was a beauty. Well, the shot in itself wasn't a beauty; it was kind of a bit of a fluke. But the way he penetrated, the way he recognized the play, drew a penalty. Obviously, that didn't happen because he scored. But when he is on his game, I understand why the Habs identified him and got him in a trade. It's just too far and in between so far for me with him. But yeah, tonight he was a spark. And you know what? Like, I know we're on positives and all that, but this is what my problem so far is with the team this season. I feel like maybe the Ottawa game, the second game of the season, maybe. I'm not sure. I would have to rewatch the tape. We haven't had a full effort, a full team effort so far this year.
Agreed.
The first game against Toronto, they weren't bad, but I mean, come on. Monty stole that game in plain sight. Completely. Other than that, like you have like tonight. Have you seen the first and the second line really that much tonight? Because
not at all.
Especially the first one. Because tonight, if you have a decent game from your first line, you might at the very least take that in OT, come out of there with a point. Because like your veteran were there. Yeah, okay, they gave too many chances and all that, and they'll completely let Jack Hughes cook. They were like, Jack Hughes, this is your kitchen. You do what you want in it. Like, they let him cook. Crazy. And Jack Hughes couldn't be happier because he's not having that good a start of the season. So Jack Hughes might have got it going tonight. But have we had a game where everything clicked? Goalie click, first line click, grinder click, all together at once? I don't think so. And that's a bit of my problem so far with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you haven't. And also, I feel like that's one of those things that how much of it is, you know, the mental focus and how much of it is just you haven't had things bounce your way so far. You know, because hockey is, there's always something to dig into and to look at to improve. But also, it's such a random sport where you can have these stretches where, you know, like we have that saying in hockey, like puck don't lie, but actually the puck lies a lot. The puck lies a lot.
Yeah.
All of us who've either played a game or been watching for a very long time know that you can have a game where you or your team plays great, and things go sideways on you anyway. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Canadiens are there this year. They haven't been playing great, but on top of not playing great, I feel like they've also not had things go their way. And that's just a crappy situation. And eventually we'll see a full 60 minutes, but I don't know if we've had that many full team clicking games to watch in several years. It's just not maybe in the cards for this roster as it stands. But when they get to a point where Demidov is on this team, I think very shortly Joshua Waugh should be on this team.
Oh yeah.
It changes things significantly. I can't wait to see what Lane Hutson looks like as a second-year pro, especially with somebody beside him who has the right-handedness and also is good. No offense.
Damn.
I mean, let's
You went
be
hard on
real.
that one.
Let's be real. It's not a great situation for the right side on this club on defense right now.
No, I agree. I agree with you 100%.
They miss Kovechkin there on New Jersey. He got away with a few tonight.
Kovacevic.
Kovacevic, yeah. He's had a great start to the season. I really like Kovacevic,
He-
but long term is still probably the right move.
Yeah, might have done it a bit too soon. Might have
Mhm.
pulled the trigger too soon. But you know what? It is what it is. You couldn't predict all the injuries and stuff. And that you could have predicted that David Savard would start slowing down a bit, though. You could have predicted that.
Yes.
And
100%.
strictly because of his style of play. I mean, there isn't a lot of players. I want to say league wide, I have more respect than Savard.
Yeah.
Because of the way he plays. Like, I mean, the guy's a freaking Stanley Cup champion. He's a dad. He's a millionaire. And he's out there in, what was it, like an 8-2 loss, blocking 3 shots at the end of the game on a PK. Like,
That was
my
crazy.
dude, mad respect for, like, I can't say enough how much I have respect for that guy.
100%. I'm totally with you there. All right, let's quickly shift gears and talk to the chat here. But before I do, I'm just going to remind everyone that we have a merchandise line up at thegameovernetwork.com, and you can check it out. We have 3 lines currently that are designed by Brady Shallis from Game Over Winnipeg. We've got our Live and Die by the Goalie stuff, which I really love because I'm a goalie nerd, and I know Max does too. And we've got our skater design. This is kind of like a retro thing that I'm wearing currently right now. I love it, actually.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel like I'm back in the 90s as a kid, and, we're going to have an N64, order some pizza and stay up all night playing GoldenEye. That's what this shirt makes me feel like, so I hope other people feel that as well. And we've got our established design, which is a bit more like streetwear as well. We've got some cool coffee mugs in there that you want to check out. We've got some more products that are going to be added shortly. We've got a couple things in there right now, like some hair products, accessories for our women fans. We're going to add some more stuff there that we're working on as we head into the holidays. There's lots coming up here shortly on the Game Over Network. It's going to be really fun.
Mine's in the truck. Got the email today. It's in the truck.
I got the email as well saying the delivery's going out. Soon. It's going to be awesome. All right. I saw a question here from Kay saying, quick question. What is the embellishment penalty for if not to call what Timo Meier did? Yeah, that was egregious. I'd be surprised. Like, I don't know do they fine anymore for diving? I know they used to, and they kind of stopped.
Yeah, they do. No, they do.
But do they call you out, or is it just the second one that they call you out for?
I don't know. Like, you know what? For a very long time, I thought the stupidest thing in hockey was calling both the diving and, like, I don't know, the hooking or the tripping or whatever. Right. I was like, the second there is a dive, cancel the trip. Until, I don't know, I grew older and realized that just because you embellish doesn't mean the other action didn't happen. So I'm a bit more okay with it. But I do feel like they rarely call an embellishment when there isn't the other call. Like, I don't know, they're kind of scared to call these. And I can't be totally 100% wrong with this. But I was going to say, I feel like there is more embellishment these days. I don't know.
It feels like it.
Maybe I'm just getting old and grumpy.
I mean, it could be. I think I'm one of the, like, for me, embellishment doesn't bother me the way that it bothers some. Like
Oh yeah. Oh
the
no, it
people.
bothers me so much, man.
Yeah, like I don't
It's one
like
of my
it.
rare, really old school thing. Like
Yeah,
I I was raised by old school parents, especially an old school
same.
dad who like the whole "Are you injured or are you hurt?" scene from Remember the Titans. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the way I was raised. And it's still something I do live by. I don't know if it's something I'm gonna teach to my kids if I have some one day, but it is something I do still live by. And yeah, even on my teams, it's something that when I see one of my guy like embellishing or like, I'm like, dude, suck it up, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very rare space. And I know I don't look like it, like tall, slinky man and all that, but like, it's something that I don't like it. I hate selling call. I hate that, man. I hate that.
See, I'm like, for me, diving and embellishing are two different things. For
Okay.
me, a dive is nothing happened and you're trying to sell that something did. Whereas embellishing
I get it.
is something
Get it.
happened and you're trying to get attention. So I see embellishment as a natural thing that happens because the league is terrible at enforcing its own rules. So players feel like every time there's a hook, they have to do this, or like, in order to get the attention of the referees, because there's,
Yeah.
first of
Okay.
all,
I get
way too much going on for two on ice officials to actually manage. And
interesting.
also the priorities that they have in terms of controlling the game
Yeah.
are not great.
I get your initial point, and I agree. There is a difference between diving and embellishing. Hate both. The only place where I would, I mean, let's be clear here. Like, you know what? Let's call a cat a cat. The only point where I wouldn't fully agree, like, you can like look at a ref and go like, "The fuck," without embellishing. Like, if you literally have a hook around you, or like you can like raise your arms, like that to me is complaining. I accept some form of complaining. We're all humans. Um, I do think, by the way, the Habs are complaining way too much. They're
Yes.
complaining way too much. I hate it. Uh, so yeah,
That's
but
what happens when you're losing all the time and nothing's going your way, right? You're
yeah,
externalizing all your frustrations and
that is a valid point, though. That is a very valid point. I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I think embellishment is something that like the league itself creates by their own decision-making process, whereas diving is something that's always existed, and it's like players that do that generally I don't like very much. Sometimes you do, but yeah, Matthias in the comments says, I love how incredulous Caulfield looked afterwards. It
He
was
was.
really funny because if it was me, Cole Caulfield, and Timo Meyer did that, like I'd have to jump to headshot that guy. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on? That was a very odd one to not call. Let's see if we got any other good comments here. Uh,
Nick goes, "How did you hate Mike Ribeiro's dive all those years ago?"
oh, I mean, about as much as the rest of the Canadians did, I'm assuming.
Oh man, you know what? Like the famous times against the Bruins is one of the time I was the most embarrassed for
That was
somebody
bad.
else. I was so embarrassed for the guy. Like, because you know what? Like, sometimes you're gonna like it's okay to stay down and all that, but like the
Mhm.
theatricality, like, come on, man. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's the going down like you're shot and the rolling around and stuff like that. Ribeiro was bad. I mean, people got mad about. Remember when Kovalev got chopped in overtime and just kind
Yeah,
of
but
gave up on the play? But he
yeah,
actually
but
got
you know
hit.
what? Exactly. Like, it was stupid. Like stopping and going, "Ah." But I mean, I've got like hit stick there. It hurts. Like there's no doubt in my mind he was hurt, but that was just dumb. Ribeiro was. I don't even have a word. I don't even have a word for the man, actually. So
Yeah,
unfortunately for
it's
him.
tough. Max Tixidor says Kovechkin made some crazy mistakes today, but he played for the better team. I think it was one of his worst games this season. Yeah, it was. He also got away with like 4 or 5 different infractions in the last 5 minutes there. He was really making sure that they beat his former team, I think, and the refs were okay with it. There's some weird non-calls tonight, but that's basically every night in the NHL now. I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
getting worse. It seems like it gets
I
worse every season.
That's an interesting thing. Does it get worse, or do we just have so many slow-mos now? And
Mm,
I don't know.
I
Because
think
I
it's
feel like,
the game is just too fast.
yeah, but I feel like it's like this in every sport. You know
Probably true.
what? So I'm a big NFL guy. I have the Thursday night game here on the side. And when I was young, I really agreed with the following take that was really popular among both hockey and NFL fans, which was in the NFL, they make the call, whatever time there is left on the clock, whether it's the Super Bowl, whatever. And it used to be true. I mean, if you remember the 28-3 comeback from the Patriots against the Atlanta Falcons in the overtime, in the freaking Super Bowl, first overtime in Super Bowl history. How did they get to the 1 yard line? They called a pass interference. They called it. There was a pass interference. They called it, and it was not a controversial call. It was an obvious call. Can you imagine in the Stanley Cup final, overtime, like, I don't know, like a hooking, like an obvious hooking? I maybe I don't think so. It's not
I
true nowadays.
I
It's not
think
true nowadays in the NFL either. So I feel like
yeah.
every sport is getting worse. So that's why I'm asking: do we just have to? Are we too lazy on our couches being fed too many? Like, are we too? I'm looking for my word here in English, but too gâté? Uh, I don't know how to say this in English. Like, too ungrateful. Are we too
Mm.
ungrateful because we have so many replays and stuff, and we don't realize how tough they have it out there?
No, I think that's fair. I think especially in the NHL, officiating is a damn tough job. Like the schedule that they
Hell
have to
yeah.
do just based on travel is excruciating. The amount of physical exhaustion they must feel is got to be incredible. Those guys are out on the ice the entire time, and skating the lengths back and forth. And like, yeah, you got the two officials, so they're splitting it, but I don't know how many kilometers they skate per game, but it's got to be a fair amount.
They have to be
Those
pretty healthy, my man.
incredibly. But I think part of the problem is people are frustrated because the direction from the league itself prioritizes the wrong things. Like you mentioned, you probably wouldn't get like a hooking penalty in overtime game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. However, if you scored a goal in overtime of the Stanley Cup final and 45 seconds before that, it was a little bit offside, they're definitely calling that goal back. They're definitely calling that goal back. So there's all this like
Yeah.
minutia on one kind of play. But then when it comes to like hooking, holding, interference, it's like, well, we'll call it when we feel like it, when we've decided that it's enough. So there's
Yeah.
like these black and white rules that I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel
I
like a
just
lot of people don't care about offside that much.
I like consistency.
I like
It's
consistency too.
it's all I'm asking for. But you know why? You know what's funny is that I'm trying. Do you remember what was the goal? Was it an Avalanche goal? I'm trying to remember. Or was it Stamkos? The
Duchesne.
goal. It's Duchesne. Yeah. Okay.
Duchesne.
Exactly. So the goal that you went like, okay, we need to do something about this because he was like 3 feet outside.
Yeah.
That's the spirit of the rule. And at first, I didn't fully agree. I thought like, no, we have the technology to get back every single damn thing. So let's get back every single damn thing. And now I'm just like, no, you know what? I don't think we should be focusing on whether if some guy was like by a quarter of an inch
Yeah.
offside or not. Like,
That's where I am too. Where it sounds like a good idea, and then in practice, you're like, are we playing hockey or are we playing competitive line crossing?
that's why so for every sport, okay, where it's possible to do it, for every sport, to me, review should go this way. You have, I don't care if it's decide 30 seconds or a minute, and if within a minute of watching the damn play, you're not able to go, yep, we were wrong, sorry, yeah, we were wrong. Like, all right, no, cool, a minute. That's all. Like, you don't have to be there for like 5 minutes and go, yeah, oh, I'm so. Wait a minute. Do we have? Oh, I'm not. No, look, take a minute. If you
Yeah.
took a minute and you went, we're still not sure. Well, cool. We'll live with it.
I would go like, feel like there's a twofold approach. Number one, you've got to stop having so much gray in the rule book to allow decisions to be made on the fly based on feelings, because it happens way too much, especially with goaltender interference, in my opinion. But yes, a timer, please. On goalie interference, I don't mind if they take a minute. You know, it can be complicated. There's lots of things going on. For icings, or not for icing, sorry, for offside, if a ref on a large iPad takes more than 10 seconds, I do not care. Tie goes to the offense. Like, just let the goals happen. It doesn't matter. Like, and all this focus on whether or not something was offside or not. Yeah, we're cutting out a bunch of goals. How many goals are we cutting out by refs erring on the side of caution and calling onside plays offside? Because just by the law of averages, you're going to miss as many one way as
That's
the other.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. You know what? I know the sport in itself doesn't allow it in the structure of the sport, but this is where it's interesting in soccer, whereas they let the play go. If the guy scored, they're gonna raise the flag and go, nope, he was offside. And then you're gonna go to you can't do that in hockey. It would be crazy. Oh, you know what? Maybe we'll just wait. Like that would be just way too completely crazy. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's too much. All right. We've got, let's see. Do you see what happened between Seattle and Colorado the other night? I did not. I'm assuming it was egregious, but
Colorado and Seattle. I remember Crosby's goal. Seattle and Colorado. I feel like I know that one. Wait. No, I do not remember that one either.
yeah, I haven't had time to dig in on other teams so much this year. I don't envy your job having to cover more of a national scale there, Max. I've been just trying to keep up with the Canadiens so far this year, and that alone has been an effort. And
I do
also,
appreciate it personally.
yeah,
Yeah. No, it's
oh,
fun. Yeah, it is. It really is. It is tough, but I appreciate having a more global approach to it. And anyways, it's something that I always try to have. You know, I feel like in too many things in life, we see the forest that hides the tree that hides the forest. Sorry, so many times, and I do think it's cool. Like it puts things into perspective, actually.
yeah.
And so far this season, and not the best start of a season for the Montreal Canadiens, it gives you good hockey.
Yes, this is definitely true. And seeing the forest for the trees is important in a rebuild as well. And I think that's like the main thing that I would say to folks who are like really frustrated right now is just remember that the team that you're watching in front of your face is not what they're trying to build. This isn't the
Yeah,
finished product. It's very important to know.
Che just specified. I did see I did see the Kraken Colorado thing. So what happened is um, uh, Yanni Gourde rips a puck in the offensive zone, misses the net, so the puck goes all the board and goes all the way back to the other side. Colorado is in the zone for, I feel like, I think I'm not exaggerating if I say 2 minutes. 2 minutes of ongoing play in the offensive zone. They score a goal. Seattle challenges for offside 2 minutes prior, or like maybe I'm pretty sure I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying 2 minutes. A very long time. Like the offside has no impact on the play at that point. So they challenge, they win the challenge, and I don't understand why they went back and then gave the goal. It was a crazy sequence. So
Whoa.
obviously it was Grubauer in net for Colorado, for Seattle. Obviously, an ex Colorado Avalanche player. At some point, it's Rantanen who scored. Him and Rantanen were just talking. I would have paid to like. What were they talking? Because you could see like on both their faces, we're like, "What are we doing here?" Like it's ridiculous.
Oh man. I think if you challenge for an offside, no matter how egregious it was, over a minute past when the offside happened, you should just get punched in the nuts. And obviously, there's only one coach in the NHL who that's not going to hurt. So I guess if you don't want to get punched in the nuts, start hiring more
Oh my
women
god!
coaches.
For a second there, I was wondering. I was like, "Who's he talking about?" I was looking way too deep into this. I was like, "Wait,
Jessica
who's?"
Campbell, right? Is
Yeah,
Jessica? Yeah.
yeah. No, I was looking too deep into it. I was like, "What kind of commentary is that on whose manhood?"
I'm just, throwing someone's catching strays. They don't even know it,
Yeah.
but they're catching strays. No, no, no. Just the one woman coach in the NHL. We'll get there eventually. We'll have some more. It's nice to see the glass ceiling get shattered in one more space. Some positivity to end the show with here tonight. Thanks for joining me here tonight, Max. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a better game from the Canadiens. I'm hoping one of these days we'll get something inspiring. But until then, I'm
We
Andrew
will.
Berkshire for Game on Montreal. Game Over Montreal. Sorry. Make sure you smash the like button on this stream. Hit subscribe. It really helps us out. We're trying to build something really cool here, and we hope you'll be here with us as we try to shake up the media industry in Canada at the very least. Have some fun. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone, because I won't see you until after. Later.